Welcome back to the deep dive. Oscar Wilde had this beautiful idea about love, how it makes us wiser than we know, better than we feel, nobler than we are. It's quite something.
It really is that imaginative power he talks about.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, what if the secret ingredient to actually getting that kind of profound love, not just for others, but maybe even more importantly for ourselves, isn't some big dramatic thing?
What if it's something quieter?
Right. What if it's self-compassion? That's what we're exploring today. We're diving deep into Chapter 11 of Kristin Neff's book, Self-Compassion, The Proven Power of Being Kind to Yourself. The chapter's called Love and Sex. And our mission really is to unpack how being kinder to yourself doesn't just, make you feel better inside, but how it fundamentally changes your romantic life, your sex life.
And we'll be looking at practical insights, some research Neff discusses, all aimed at helping you navigate relationships and self-worth.
Yeah, and the core idea, the central argument in this chapter, it's pretty fascinating. It's basically that if we can let go of constantly trying to prove ourselves, that ego-driven striving.
That need for external validation.
Exactly. If we let go of that and sort of embrace life, warts and all, our ability to love, to feel passion, actually gets stronger.
So it's not about giving up, it's about shifting the foundation.
Precisely. Building from the inside out. It's just embracing things as they are can lead to, well, more fulfilling connections overall.
Okay, let's talk about that external validation piece first. It's such a common trap, isn't it? Looking to our partner to make us feel valued, accepted, understood deep down.
Oh, absolutely. It's almost universal.
You fall in love, and it's blissful, they see your beauty, maybe even the parts you don't like about yourself, and suddenly those parts seem okay.
That reflection feels amazing. It really does. But Neff points out that initial stardust starts to thin. Eventually, reality sets in.
Right, and partners start seeing things they don't like, and they might even tell you about them.
Yeah, it reminds me of that funny, maybe slightly scary advice Rupert's father gave him. Don't worry, the first 40 years of marriage are tricky, but after that, it's plain sailing.
Sets the bar, doesn't it? But it highlights the challenge.
It really does.
And the problem is, even if you have a really loving partner, that external approval often doesn't fully sink in if you don't accept yourself first.
Right. You can always find a reason to dismiss it.
Exactly. You think, well, they don't see the real me. If they knew how critical I am or how anxious I get, they wouldn't love me. That internal critic just undermines everything.
So true.
Neff tells this story about Diane and Eric. Eric loved Diane deeply, but she was intensely self-critical. She was convinced he didn't see her controlling side, this anal retentive tyrant, as she called it.
Oof. That's harsh self-talk.
Very. And her need for control clashed with Eric's more laid-back style. Arguments about, forgotten milk, the lawn not being mowed, the toilet seat.
They're classic stuff.
Yeah, but underneath, they found out Diane's control issues stemmed from fear. A really old fear from a car accident years ago where her friend almost died.
Wow. Okay. So it wasn't really about the milk.
Not at all. But instead of having compassion for that fear, she'd lash out at herself or Eric. But Eric, because he understood self-compassion, learned a different approach.
What did he do?
When she'd get upset, he'd gently ask, "Are you upset because you feel afraid and out of control?" Then he'd suggest, "Why don't you take a moment to give yourself some compassion, then we can talk about what happened."
That takes some presence of mind from him.
It does, but it shifted everything. Diane started using her anger as a cue, a reminder to be kind to that scared part of herself. She'd literally comfort herself.
Like saying what?
Things like, "I know you feel this way because you were so frightened." And the result? Fewer arguments. Diane started to actually believe she was worthy of Eric's love. And interestingly, Eric even became a bit more responsible.
That's a great outcome. It really shows how internal shifts change the dynamic.
It really does.
Which leads us perfectly into an exercise for you, the listener. Think about your own relationships, current or recent. What are your strongest emotional buttons?
Those sensitivities.
Yeah. Do you get hurt easily, assume the worst, maybe feel anxious about being left? Neff says these are often like scars, right? Leftovers from past hurts.
Vestiges from previous relationships gone wrong, as she puts it.
Exactly. And while a partner can help, the most direct healing, she argues, comes from inside you.
So what can you do?
Well, next time one of those buttons gets pushed, try to pause. Get some clarity. Ask yourself, is this really about my partner right now, or is this an old feeling, an old pattern showing up?
Instead of jumping straight to blame.
Right. Give yourself some compassion first. Acknowledge the feeling, even if it feels like an overreaction. Use mindfulness. Be kind to yourself. Maybe try a little mantra.
Something simple like, this is hard right now.
Yeah, or this is a moment of suffering. Suffering is part of life. May I be kind to myself. Then figure out what you're actually craving in that moment. Is it validation, care, support?
And try to give some of that to yourself first.
Exactly. It takes the pressure off your partner and, crucially, starts to heal those old wounds from the inside.
That internal resourcing is so key, and it plays out massively in conflict, too.
Ah, yes, conflict, the fun part.
Well, John Gottman's research is really insightful here. He studied couples for years and found he could predict with pretty stunning accuracy which relationships would last and which would fail based on how they argued.
Based on specific behaviors.
Yes. He identified these 4 destructive patterns. He called them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse for relationships: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling.
Sounds grim.
It is for the relationship if they become habitual. Couples who consistently fall into these patterns, their odds aren't great. But the good news,
There's good news.
there is. Couples who manage to show positive emotions during conflict, like a kind look, maybe an apology, finding some humor, they tend to make it.
Okay, so how does self-compassion fit in?
It's basically the antidote to the horseman. When you're upset, self-compassion helps you soothe those really intense feelings.
You're less likely to lash out.
Exactly. Less likely to be harshly critical or dripping with contempt or immediately defensive because you've already given yourself a bit of emotional safety. You've acknowledged your own pain first.
It helps you stay more balanced, maybe. Less likely to just shut down, to stonewall.
Precisely. It fosters equanimity. It kind of softens our hearts, as Neff puts it, makes it easier to feel and show affection even when you disagree, and sometimes you can even laugh at yourself.
Oh, absolutely. Neff shares that story about fighting with Rupert, and she blurts out, "Give me a break," in this super sarcastic tone, exactly like her mother.
And they both just cracked up.
Yeah, it totally broke the tension. That ability to not take yourself so seriously, it's gold. Self-compassion helps create that space.
It really does.
It also helps with what Neff calls the validation trap. You know, when a fight just spirals because both people just want their own viewpoint heard and validated first.
Right. You need to understand how I feel.
Exactly.
Yeah.
She gives the example of being upset. Rupert spends too much time horse riding.
Yeah.
If he just defends himself without hearing her frustration first, she feels unheard.
So she escalates, maybe exaggerates.
Right. Like you never spend time with the family,
Yeah.
which makes him more defensive, and boom, you're stuck.
It's a vicious cycle.
Totally. And while advice is often validate your partner first, that's incredibly hard when you're feeling hurt yourself.
Almost impossible sometimes.
But here's the key. If you can offer yourself validation first, if you can pause and say, okay, it makes sense I feel hurt right now, or it's understandable I'm frustrated.
You meet your own need first.
Yes. You don't need to shout louder and louder to feel heard because you've already heard yourself. Then you actually have the capacity to listen to your partner. It cools things down.
That makes so much sense. And the research really backs this up, doesn't it? Strongly. Neff conducted a study with over 100 couples, and the findings were clear. People high in self-compassion had happier, more satisfying relationships.
How did their partners describe them?
Their partners saw them as more accepting, less judgmental, more respectful of their opinions, also more caring, connected, affectionate, intimate, and more willing to actually talk through problems.
That sounds like a pretty good list.
It is. And interestingly, they also gave their partners more freedom and autonomy. They were more supportive of their partner's separate interests and decisions.
That's fascinating. What about self-esteem? Does high self-esteem have the same effect?
That's the really crucial part. No, it didn't. High self-esteem wasn't linked to healthier relationship dynamics in the same way.
Really? Why not?
Well, sometimes high self-esteem, especially the kind that's fragile or needs constant boosting, can actually lead to more anger, jealousy, defensiveness, even selfishness or game playing, particularly if it borders on narcissism.
Wow. So self-compassion is different.
Very different. The study concluded self-compassion fosters mutuality, a balance between your needs and your partner's. Self-esteem, on the other hand, tends to be more ego-focused, which can actually increase separation and competition.
So connection with others really starts with connection to yourself. Embracing your own messy, imperfect self with kindness.
That seems to be the core message.
You know, Neff shares how she and Rupert actually put a promise to help each other be more self-compassionate in their wedding vows.
That's quite a commitment, not just to each other, but to a way of being.
Exactly. And she talks about how taking self-compassion breaks during arguments became really important for them. She remembers one fight, I think, about fox hunting.
A passionate topic, no doubt.
Definitely. And she realized her defensiveness, her interrupting, was all about protecting her ego, trying to prove him wrong to salvage her own self-esteem.
That ego focus again.
Right. So she took a break, acknowledged her own feelings, her shame, realized her enthusiasm just got the better of her. She could then apologize properly.
Yeah, Rupert.
He had apparently also given himself some compassion, so he was receptive. They actually had a productive conversation after that.
See, it works.
It does. And she goes deeper, explaining how often these arguments trigger old childhood patterns. For her, it was a hurt little girl feeling, linked to fears of abandonment.
And for Rupert.
An unfairly treated little boy pattern from school. These deep-seated feelings fuel the adult reactions.
So the self-compassion helps soothe those old wounds too.
Yes, their commitment helped them spot these patterns, acknowledge them, offer kindness to those younger selves, and then deal with the actual present issue more calmly. That vow really anchored them.
Which brings us neatly to another practical tool for you. Exercise 2, the self-compassion break.
Okay, how does it work in the moment?
Well, next time you're in a really heated argument, try to take one. Ideally, you'd agree on this with your partner beforehand, but even just stepping away yourself for a minute can help.
The tricky part is remembering to do it when you're seeing red.
Absolutely. Neff says the pain of the conflict itself can become your reminder with practice. So find a private spot bathroom, another room, just for a few minutes.
And then what?
Okay, critically, put the story on hold. Stop replaying who said what, who's right or wrong. Focus only on how you feel right now. Upset, angry, hurt, scared.
Just acknowledge the feeling itself.
Yes, and soothe yourself. Validate it. This is really hard. It's okay to feel this way. Use that self-compassion mantra again if it helps. This is a moment of suffering.
Because often in fights, the biggest pain is feeling unheard, right?
Exactly. So hear yourself first. Validate your experience first. That alone starts to dial down the emotional intensity.
And after the break.
You can re-engage more calmly, maybe try to express at least one positive thing, even just a small smile, a kind word, or saying, okay, I think I understand what you're saying about X. It can really shift the energy.
Turning conflict into connection, potentially.
That's the goal.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. How does all this apply? Oh, in the bedroom. Self-compassion and sex.
Another really important area.
Sex can be this amazing source of connection, feeling alive, passionate, but wow, society has a complicated relationship with it, especially, Neff points out, for women.
There's often a lot of shame involved.
So much shame. Double standards are rampant, right? Men are studs, women get condemned. There aren't many mainstream role models of women just unapologetically enjoying their sexuality, like, say, Samantha from Sex and the City.
Sure, she was quite unique in that way.
And this shame leads women, especially, to sometimes devalue themselves, using sex to get validation, thinking, why didn't he call? Wasn't I good enough when things don't work out?
Linking self-worth directly to sexual performance or desirability.
Exactly. And for teenagers, particularly girls, it's a minefield. You've got this intense sexualization everywhere, clothes, music videos, degrading women side by side with things like the purity ring movement.
Talk about conflicting messages.
Seriously. And Neff notes the consequences can be unhealthy. Like studies showing girls who take virginity pledges are just as likely to have premarital sex eventually, but less likely to use condoms because they feel ashamed.
Or resorting to other acts because it doesn't count. It's tragic, really.
It is, all driven by shame and confusion.
And this is precisely where self-compassion becomes so vital. It helps us stop being victims of sexual shame, as Neff puts it. It allows us to build a healthier, more authentic relationship with our own sexuality.
What does authentic mean here?
It means recognizing that there's really no right or wrong when it comes to sex, only what's healthy or unhealthy for each individual or couple. It's about embracing the huge diversity of human sexuality.
Different orientations, different desires.
Absolutely. Different choices. Celibacy, monogamy, polyamory. Neff even quotes David Nimmons, suggesting gay men are sometimes more liberated because they've already had to buck societal norms.
Interesting point.
The core idea is that your sexual choices should come from an inner desire for happiness and well-being, not from trying to fit in or please someone else, whether that's society or a partner.
Because well-being cannot be nurtured in a lie.
Exactly that. Self-compassion gives you the courage to listen to yourself and honor what feels right and healthy for you.
Okay, that feels like a good lead-in to the next exercise. Exercise 3, releasing sexual shame. This one asks you to take a really honest look at your sexual self.
A gentle but honest look.
Right. Are you fully accepting of your feelings, your desires, whatever they might be, or is there shame lurking? Self-judgment.
And if there is.
First step, as always, compassion for the judgment itself. Recognize that nearly everyone carries some sexual shame or confusion. It's part of being human in our sexually conflicted, confused society, as Neff says. Try to let go of the self-blame.
Be kind to yourself for feeling that way.
Yes. Then dig a little deeper. Ask, where does this negative feeling come from? Is it because something feels genuinely harmful to me? Or is it mainly because society, or maybe my upbringing, told me I shouldn't feel or want this?
Discerning the source of the shame.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you ashamed because of cultural messages or because something truly feels unhealthy for you? Reflect on what's authentic for you, what actually promotes your health and happiness, regardless of external rules.
That's about finding your own compass.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Accepting and validating your own feelings and finding ways to express your sexuality that feel genuinely good and right for you.
And interestingly, this self-acceptance seems to connect to actual physical responsiveness, too.
Oh, really? How so?
Well, Neff mentions it's a newer research area, but there's some initial evidence suggesting that women higher in self-compassion are more tuned into their bodies. One study even found that increasing self-compassion helped women recognize their own sexual feelings more quickly when shown erotic images.
So less dissociation, more connection to the body's signals.
Potentially, yes. It fosters a more comfortable, accepting relationship with our physical selves, which makes sense, right?
It does.
And beyond responsiveness, self-compassion is crucial for healing those deeper wounds that, as we discussed with conflict, can also show up during intimacy.
Those childhood patterns again.
Yes. Especially for women, that hurt little girl pattern may be linked to not feeling loved enough, perhaps by a father figure, can really surface in the bedroom. It creates this intense neediness, this craving for validation that can get in the way of genuine connection.
It makes sex less about mutual pleasure and more about trying to fill a void.
Exactly. But self-compassion gives you the internal resources to meet some of that need yourself, to soothe that hurt part with kindness, transforming vulnerable moments into chances for real healing.
Neff shares a really powerful personal story about this, doesn't she?
Yeah.
She talks about moments early in her relationship with Rupert where she'd suddenly shift during intimacy from feeling connected, like a sex goddess, as she puts it, to feeling like a wounded little girl. Just this wave of sadness.
That sounds intense.
Incredibly. She realized that finally feeling safe and loved allowed these old feelings of not being loved enough to come up to the surface. But because they both had this commitment to self-compassion,
They could meet it differently.
yes, instead of pushing it away or feeling ashamed, they used those moments for healing, focusing on soothing that wounded part, bringing compassion to those really deep scars together.
Wow.
She describes it as this almost strange and metaphoric experience, feeling like they were healing not just her wounds, but the wounds of countless women, seeing images transforming suffering through shared compassion.
That's incredibly profound.
It really is. And the outcome. She says that hurt little girl never asserted herself in the bedroom again, assured that she was and is loved. It shows how deep the healing can go when met with kindness.
What a powerful illustration of everything we've been discussing. It really brings it all together. So just to recap the core lessons from this deep dive into Neff's chapter on love and sex, self-compassion isn't just a nice to have. It's pretty crucial for building strong, satisfying relationships.
Right, it starts with that internal acceptance.
Exactly. Which lets you actually receive love fully. It gives you the tools to handle conflict better, to tame those four horsemen by softening your heart.
And it helps cultivate that authentic, shame-free sexuality.
Allowing you to embrace yourself completely, even in the most intimate parts of life. It's transformative.
So the final thought for you to ponder is this. What does this actually mean for you? How might really embracing your own imperfect, authentic self with kindness, in love, in sex, how might that not only change your closest relationships, but maybe even ripple outwards? How might it foster more connection in the world around you?
Something to really sit with.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into self-compassion in love and sex. We really hope it's given you some valuable insights and maybe some practical tools for your own journey.
It's been great exploring it.
On behalf of the Deep Dive team, thank you for listening.